All right, everybody. It is another Sunday. Very excited to be with you guys to recap the games from yesterday in the NFL, a little bit of college basketball as well, and then preview the matchups we got today. We're very excited about it, including the Cowboys and the Niners later tonight, the Bills and the Bengals earlier today. We've got bets. We've got your questions, your comments, our analysis of what's going on. But first, before I bring in my co-host, one who may be an undercover superhero. We're still trying to figure that out. There's been, we put liquid paper on a bee. It died eventually, but we're getting closer to the answer. I want to say, make sure you subscribe, trying to grow as fast as we can. You guys have done a hell of a job sharing the show. We really appreciate that. So hit that like button, turn that notification bell on, go to the Daily Wire Plus and become a member. Got some great content over there. Jordan Peterson, obviously Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, and DW Kids is coming, which is a great outlet to be able to turn on something that your kids can watch and not worry to death what's going to come on after that. So having said that, I want to go ahead and bring in former Michigan quarterback, one of two Michigan quarterbacks that had a good day yesterday, Chad Henne coming in for Patrick Mahomes, but our buddy David Cohn, and then my brother, the former Western State Colorado wide receiver, and the greatest first touchdown score predictor that God has ever graced on earth, Blaine Crane, also known as Flaming Dragon, also known as Inmate 624-893 if you're in the Memphis area. Guys, what's up?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, look, I want to go and get into this. All right, yesterday, I want to look all the feelings I had about the Giants going through the week. Turns out it's kidney stones.
Yeah,
so that was
a little bit off on that one, huh?
That was that, and we're gonna get into that. But I want to start with the Chiefs-Jags. And, we talked all week about the Jags are playing with house money. Regardless of what happens, it's been a win for them. Are we going to see this Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes matchup down the stretch here over the next 3 to 5 years? And it seems like we are. But having said all that, if I'm a Jags fan or a player on that team, I'm sick to my stomach this morning. I'm sick to my stomach. They gave us every chance to be able to pull that upset off yesterday. You caught about every break that you needed. Mahomes gets beat up. That ankle wasn't right. The game really kind of flipped a little bit when that happened, and you could see the confidence level of the Jags go up. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not celebrating a guy getting hurt, but I'm damn sure not going to be upset if I'm the underdog on the other team, and he's the main reason that they're dominating. But you look at Christian Kirk dropping the deep ball. You look at a lot of little things. And look, the fumble at the end, all right, that by Agnew, you can't do that and have a chance to beat a team like the Chiefs. But there were multiple times during this game where the Jags actually had a chance to not just keep it close, but win, and they weren't able to do it. And you go through the numbers, Trevor wasn't horrible. He was 24 to 39 for 217, a touchdown, an interception, got sacked twice. On the other hand, Patrick Mahomes, who was hurt, went 22 of 130 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. But David, I'll start with you. I mean, if you're a Jags player or a fan, you're kind of pissed off a little bit this morning because it wasn't like you just got blown out of the water like we saw in the game right after it.
Yeah, because if you were to ask a Jags fan before the game, hey, what's the number one thing, that could help your team win? You'd say something like, oh, Patrick Mahomes needs to get hurt. Now, when we do our keys to victory, we don't want to plan or project for players getting hurt, right? But they were able to get to him, and that caused Patrick Mahomes to go down. Now, Chad Henne enters the game, leads a 98-yard touchdown drive. Now, yeah, I know the guy. I'm friends with the guy. But still, I think it just points to the fact that when you invest in your backup quarterback, your team in its most vulnerable time, second round of the playoffs, you're only as good as that quarterback who can go in there for your MVP guy and lead a touchdown drive. I thought it was phenomenal. It was fun to watch. I mean, keep in mind, this guy was a starting quarterback at Michigan when I was there. He's the best I've ever played with, and he's the backup to Patrick Mahomes. So that should just show you there's levels to this. But when the Chiefs needed it most, he was able to go in there, lead a 98-yard touchdown drive before Patrick Mahomes gets back in the second half. Now you see the game plan change when Pat got back in, right? The game plan changed, everything kind of slowed down. Yes, the Jags did have a chance, but I think that the Chiefs were still in command regardless of the game being close. It still felt that way.
Yeah. Hey, Blaine, I'm wondering when the Jags are going to decide to maybe cover Travis Kelce. And look, he's going to have some catches. He's going to get his. But he sets a tight end single game playoff reception record with 14 from the start to the finish. It was security blanket Travis. And it wasn't like that these were 50, 60-yard plays in the seam like we've seen Travis make. But it's amazing how many times they got into 2nd and 5 or converted a 3rd and 4 or a 3rd and 6 with Travis Kelce over the middle. Me and you were watching the game together. We're like, at some point, The Jaguars, I mean, you have to find a way. Patrick, you're not worrying about Patrick's running ability now. You've got to find a way to at least put a little more pressure on Travis. You saw him try to collect him with the jack, outside backer, but he would still find a way to get open, and Patrick would find a way to get in the ball.
Well, there's things out in life that are certain, right? It's death, it's taxes, and it's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the playoffs. All right, they've been doing the entire time they've been together. Am I surprised? No. First of all, congrats to Travis on breaking. I think he broke a couple records in that game. We might be seeing the best tight end to ever play in this game. But first, I want to get to the Jags. All right, if you're a Jags fan, obviously you're upset you lost the game. Any game you lose, you're going to be upset. But other than that, you shouldn't be upset about anything. You could barely win a football game last year. Barely. The year before that, you won one. I think the last year you won 3. Next thing you know, you're playing the Chiefs in the divisional. Hell, I'll take that with a bunch of young guys. Obviously, there were chances, but I think the Jags, if anything, I mean, they could have relied on the ground a little bit. I thought ETN was really getting going.
Yep.
Started to lean on them. When it comes to the Chiefs, the Patrick Mahomes injury, first of all, Patrick Mahomes, man, just from start to finish, the dude's an absolute witch. And I'm not going to sit here, and everybody knows this, but hell, his jump passes. But even after that ankle, he was still making plays. But when it really came down to it, Chad Henne came in, did a good job. But what did the Chiefs lean on, right? What they drafted so well. And that's their offensive line. You really saw Pacheco getting going on that 98 drive. They started to enforce their will on this Jags football team. And that's what it comes down to, man, especially in the playoffs. Obviously, who you have in the backfield snapping the ball, but up front on both sides of the ball. I mean, Frank Clark. I mean, these guys that got on the D-line, they got Bolton, who's a middle linebacker, who's solid.
Chris Jones.
So right now, and Chris Jones. And right now, if the Chiefs, this was a scary football game, obviously, but you got past it. We'll see the health of Patrick Mahomes. I think it's a sprained ankle. I don't think they would have let him out there if it was anything worse than that. I'm surprised they let him go. Come back in. Realistically, when Chad Henne went on a 98-yard drive, I believe you went up 2 scores. But if anything, Jags, keep your head up. And Chiefs, this is not surprising. I mean, I will get worried about the Chiefs late in the playoffs because they didn't have a lot of explosive plays. Right, that's the only thing I worry about with this Chiefs team. When you start getting with the offense that can really run with you, like the Bengals, like the Bills, big plays, and they didn't have a bunch of them.
Well, I wonder how much of that was in the game plan that changed once Patrick got hurt because he wasn't able to plant on that leg. If you looked, a lot of it was him trying to get rid of the ball quicker. It almost looked like the way the Bengals adjusted with Joe Burrow in the pocket, knowing that offensive line wasn't going to be able to protect for long. Patrick was getting that ball out quick. They were trying to call the most risk-averse plays while still being effective. That's why, Blaine, your point with the offensive line and the run game, and we keep seeing the growth of Pacheco. We know Jerick McKinnon is a hell of a player. Watching him in pass protection yesterday, if you really love football and you really understand football, it wasn't just the physicality. There was a couple times, and with Chad Henne in the game as well, that McKinnon fixed the protection that Mahomes screwed up. Go back and watch a couple of those plays. You kept getting a Liz call from Patrick. Jerick McKinnon pointed out where the backer was coming, and he flipped it to a Roger call. So having a guy back, because remember, don't forget, Jerick McKinnon was a quarterback. A lot of people forget that. He was a quarterback in college a lot, so he understands a lot of the protections. Not that Patrick doesn't, but it's like having a guy during a debate that you can look at and say, hey, did I miss any points before I go back to the other guy live during the debate? That's what it's like having him, Jerick McKinnon. So that's a huge piece. I'm going to go ahead and get to the chat before we get to this Giants-Eagles game.
All right, let's go to Mike RFF. Lifestyle is a lifestyle, baby. He says, will you see the Jags in the playoffs the next year, and what offseason moves should they make?
Yeah, look, the Jags, I think, are just getting started with Doug Peterson. And don't forget, Calvin Ridley will be a part of this team next year. Just think about the skill positions. And the Jags are young up front on defense at spots. The offensive line, they're going to continue to improve there, but you're going to have Calvin Ridley. You're going to Marvin Jones Jr., I think, is coming back. Evan Ingram, I'm pretty sure, is coming back at tight end. Zay Jones, Travis Etienne at running back. There's a lot of different weapons that the Jaguars have with a mobile quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. But Calvin Ridley gives you another guy that can be a legitimate, true deep threat to open up that seam and open up that flat. Like we saw early with the Jaguars, they were trying to protect Trevor a little bit. You go back to those first few drives, it was what? Quick screen, quick out, let's get the ball out, hit somebody across the middle for 7-8 yards before we really start loading up. The Jaguars are just getting started. This is you heard the term baby Jags back in 96 and 99. The baby Jags are back. And I think Trevor yesterday, there was only one throw, really 2 throws. The one Nick Bolton should have intercepted early. And then the one where, the throw late where he kind of got bit on that trap coverage. They sunk off of it. They made a China call. There were only a couple throws where I thought Trevor put it in harm's way. And that's the biggest key for the Jags is being able to protect the ball.
I agree 100%. You have to be bullish on Jacksonville right now. First of all, just look around the division. I mean,
Yeah.
Texans, Colts, Titans, none of them even have a long-term answer at quarterback right now. Now, maybe the Texans will take care of that in the draft, but you're the one team in that division who has your certified answer at quarterback, young guy who's finally developed. You have the right coach who's won a Super Bowl before, and it has to be very exciting to watch Travis Etienne have success in between the tackles. Remember, James Robinson was the one having success in between the tackles at the beginning of this year. They trade him away. I had a lot of questions about that. All of a sudden, Travis Etienne, we know he can catch out of the backfield. We know he can be explosive. He's having success running between the tackles, which in that game yesterday, that was my big question was, how much success can Jacksonville have running the football? And they did have. I mean, they rushed for over 100 yards, proved not to be enough, but I think the future's bright.
I thought Hasty ran the ball well too.
Yeah, well, it's always fun to see, especially as a fan, and you kind of look at the coach standpoint. You can see the game start to slow down for guys, right? You can see the game starting to slow down a little bit for Travis. He looked a lot better between the tackles, and in my opinion, he's the 3-down back. I mean, just to have that chemistry already coming out of college from Clemson, from Trevor Lawrence to Travis Etienne, really plays a huge style on the end of that game. Let's go to Mike RFF again. Says the punt return tackle by Harrison Butker was a huge game changer. I don't know if that was a punt return or a kick return. I think it was a kick return, right? The second kick return, he almost broke. But like the little things like this, you go through Jake, and Jake's a special teams coach. It's one thing you can't do on a kick return is that what's that, Jake?
Get tackled by the kicker.
Yeah.
Like I used to look at our returners and say, listen, if the kicker tackles you, don't talk to me for a week. Like I'm not sitting up, drawing all this stuff up, looking at this time, coming up with his drills. So you can let, a guy with the athleticism of this cup of coffee I'm drinking right now in the open field, not when it comes to kicking, tackle you. I mean, if you look at Jamal Agnew versus Harrison Butker in any Olympic sport or sport in general, Agnew's going to destroy him. Now, if we go out and play golf, I don't know. If we go play paper football, I don't know. If we play tic-tac-toe or chess, no clue. But I do know this, when it comes to running and jumping and catching, there's no way in hell that Harrison Butker should ever tackle Agnew. That's why he was so pissed. But I mean, he almost popped a few. He almost popped the first one they kicked for a touchdown.
Popped that fumble, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, special teams, it's a third of the game. It's like I used to tell everybody. So
and I think the Chiefs are going to have a lot of questions when they review film today on their special teams, because if he goes and scores on that play, I think that makes it a 3-point game. And you could already sense how Jake was right on the money there, how conservative the Chiefs were going to be on offense then. They were fine just running some of their plays, chewing some clock, making Jacksonville take their timeouts, and then punting the football away, especially with Patrick Mahomes' injury. That would have changed the entire dynamic.
Yeah.
Let's go to Kanye Ron. Go ahead,
well, real quick, though, people don't realize like how crazy special teams affects games. So and I've looked at these numbers, all right? In games where there is a punt that is blocked, the team that blocks the punt wins 83.3% of the time. Just think about that. That is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Kanye Ron, he says, who is the coach of the year in the NFL? Who y'all giving it to, fellas?
Man, right now it's hard for me to just give coach of the year to the guy with the best team or the best roster, even though sometimes that is what it is. Like, looking at Kirby Smart compared to Mike Elko, who really did a better job. Did Kirby Smart do a better job with Georgia's players, or did Mike Elko do a better job with Duke, getting them to play postseason after the year they had before and the personnel they have? But it's hard for me not to give it to Nick Sirianni right now for a couple reasons. I think he's shown you versatility as a coach, as a young guy. First off, Philly is an unbelievably tough place to play and coach. Those people do not forget and they do not forgive. We all know that. But when you look at the Eagles, the expectations that the Philadelphia Eagles have are sky high, and they should be. So you go through most of the regular season. You're dominating. You were able to coddle Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Miles Sanders and older guys like Lane Johnson and Kelsey up front. You're able to get them to play together well. You're able to use the system in which the quarterback is a big part of the run game. And he wasn't beat up the whole year. He was beat up toward the end of the year. But where I think you see Nick Sirianni's kind of greatness and his ability to understand how to not massage egos, but be respected while being authoritative, which in the NFL is a hard thing to do, especially as a young guy. That the Eagles struggle a little bit down the stretch. They beat the Giants 19-16 with the Giants third teamers out there. Everybody, including myself, is talking about the Giants, and they're going to be sneaky. And the Eagles got hot early, but they're not peaking at the right time. So what do? You take that Eagles team and you go out there and you beat the Giants to death with them, basically at their own game. What you saw from Philadelphia yesterday was an absolute onslaught from the start to the finish. The Giants never looked comfortable in this game. And I knew before the Giants offense even got on the field, when that offensive line and tight end group was kicking the Giants' ass up front in that front seven, like I haven't seen anybody do, people pushing Dexter Lawrence around, that's when I knew it was about to be a long day for the Giants, because if that run game was working, which if you look, Kenneth Gainwell goes for 112 yards on 12 carries. Miles Sanders goes for 90 yards on 17 carries. Jalen finishes 9 rushes for 34 and a touch. Boston Scott, 6 rushes, 32 and a touch. You ran the ball 44 times for almost 270 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not only that, it wasn't like they broke 2 80-yard runs, all right, and the numbers were inflated. Your longest run was 35 yards, which means basically you lined up, and within a 5 to 7 yard box, you won the fist fight almost every time. The Giants got behind, had to abandon the run game. You got them out of sorts, and then you just rolled them. So I think it's Nick Sirianni right now. Jalen Hurts played in that had the playoff game last year, but coming back from injury, making that big throw early. I just love the direction he has this team going, and it's a great mix of young talent and old guys. And when you have that, you can have a lot of success, especially in the postseason.
I agree. He has to be the front runner right now. I think Kyle Shanahan would be second on my list right now for Coach of the Year. 10 straight wins. He's playing his third string quarterback. That's pretty incredible as well. And then you have to throw Brian Daboll and I believe Pete Carroll in the conversation as well. I mean, I know, Brian Daboll exits the playoffs yesterday, but still, this was not supposed to be a very good Giants team. This was, Daniel Jones has one more year to prove himself. All of a sudden, they find themselves in the divisional round. And then the Seahawks, guys, we thought this might be a bottom 5 team in the NFL this season. So what Pete Carroll was able to do in Seattle, I think, is truly incredible. And there's a handful of guys. Blaine, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to put Pete Carroll and Brian Daboll in there, then Doug Peterson definitely has to be in there.
Sure.
After what the job this guy did with the roster, what he inherited from Urban Meyer after that disaster. Hell, he didn't know half the team's going to show up for offseason workouts, right? And they did, and the way they won games. So I feel like you have to give it to Nick Sirianni. And kind of to Jake's point, I mean, you just saw the Eagles, just the depth on defense play late in that game. I mean, who'd you pick? You got Hassan Reddick. Hell, I watched Ndamukong Suh come in with the 2s fully healthy. You picked up C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Saints. And if you're a Saints fan, you have to be sick to your stomach because that guy's playing like one of the best defensive backs in the league right now. But you just see the depth for the Eagles, and that's what's going to play out in the end. It's going to come down to your D-line, O-line, and people need to realize what you watch with Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce right now is the most dominant offensive lineman in the game. I really think he is. It's the things he was doing at center. I saw him pick a kid up with one arm and just completely erase him from the offensive line. And getting Lane Johnson back is huge for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts came in the game saying he wasn't healthy. Well, it wasn't 100%. He looked 100%, but the big thing, if you're the Eagles, he said he left the game feeling great. Nothing hurts. So that's what was the question with the Eagles, right? It was Jalen Hurts' health, and we got our answer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was able to operate at full bore. You really saw after that first deep pass where he was able to hit Devontae, who had a really good game. I do want to say this because I think it's RRPP makes a really good point. I know he just brought up Doug Peterson, but the mess that Doug Peterson inherited from Urban Meyer. I mean, you heard yesterday, guys were talking about not even showing up for workout. Professionals, where you have to show up, okay? It's not like you can just hit the transfer portal and head on down there to the 49ers, you know what I'm saying, and everything's fine. That's not how it works. He took an absolute cultural disaster at a place where, let's face it, they don't really know how to win. They don't really know how to win consistently down there. Not that they've never won. They've really never won big, but they don't know how to consistently win in that organization. I think what Doug Peterson did off the field maybe even more impressive than what he did on the field with this team. You talk about a total just flip that house moment. So it's our RPP in the chat. I agree with you. By the way, make sure everybody that you subscribe. And now that the first round of the playoffs is come and gone, all right, we know the field of contenders is getting smaller and smaller each week as teams compete for eternal football glory. If that's not enough to get your blood pumping, then you need to wake up because you're dead And DraftKings, today's sponsor, is giving all new customers a winning offer. So if you're a new customer and you sign up, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use our promo code CRAIN, CRAIN, and you can bet at least $5 on any NFL playoff game, and you'll instantly receive an additional $200 in bonus bets. Yeah, $200 for just $5 on any NFL playoff game, but you have to use our code CRAIN. It's not CRANE. That's a bird. I'm not a bird or a plane, but I possibly could be Superman. So that's CRAIN, and you get that great deal. You need to try out the same game parlays. Blaine, tell them about the first touchdown score. There's a boost today for first touchdown score, and T. Higgins is looking mighty interesting.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know how I don't bet it. I mean, they're working. They're working. I mean, plus 1,000 and plus 600 with Travis Kelce, which Cone also hit. Yeah, I looked at T. Higgins today. He's plus, I think, like 1,300 to score the first touchdown, which is surprising. And then I looked over to the Cowboys 49ers game, obviously. It's so hard for me not to take Christian McCaffrey for first touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's just so hard. So I'm either going to go him or CeeDee Lamb. But, hey, big day for your boy yesterday. I'm going to put a little bread I won yesterday on some bets today.
There you go. Huge day, man.
Yeah, you love to see it. By the way, Cone, you put out a stat yesterday that I had to disagree with. You said that Jalen Hurts became the first Alabama quarterback to win a playoff game since Richard Todd. Man, Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
See, you're too. Now I know you're just trolling. I know you're trolling, and you just want to like poke the bear because you're too smart to.
Richard Todd has the record. It's still his, David. Okay, don't sell your father-in-law short.
Just to fill people in. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, first former Alabama quarterback to win an NFL playoff game since my father-in-law, Richard Todd, led the Jets past the Raiders in 1983. And then I'll tell you, of all the things I was expecting last night and this morning, what I was not expecting was to hear that Jalen Hurts was not an Alabama quarterback. You would have thought I came out and said he never played at Oklahoma. Like that, yeah, that would be disrespectful. Like, or someone else put out a stat that said, Jalen Hurts did such and such at Oklahoma and I called him out for it. That would be disrespectful. What are we talking about here?
What are we classified as?
Joe Burrow, I can understand. Joe Burrow never started a game for the Buckeyes. He wins a national championship and a Heisman Trophy at LSU. He's an LSU quarterback. I can get that. Jalen Hurts went 26-2 at Alabama. First of all, he graduated as well. He started more games at Alabama than he even played in at Oklahoma. How are we going to say this guy's not an Alabama quarterback?
Well, let me ask you this, David. Let me ask you this. Okay, let's put it in another perspective. So let's say you get married. You're married for 7 years. Then you get divorced and you remarry and you win the lottery. Who is your partner when you won the lottery?
I'm going to be honest. That's the dumbest analogy
I've ever heard in my life. No, it's not,
if
David.
I then put out a stat and then said that my former wife, that would be factual. I was married to her before. Now I'm married to someone else.
I just want Richard to have the record. I see Darby Lou in the chat. I'm trying to finagle away in which Richard still has the record. Why am I the one doing
I think it's more surprising that we're sitting here that he's the first Alabama quarterback to win a playoff game when Alabama gets a million people drafted in the last 9 years since Saban's got there. So that blows my mind more than that. But what do you I don't know how you classify this. Is it where you graduated from, or is it where you ended your career at?
Where'd you get drafted out of?
The only other one that's interesting to me is Russell Wilson, because I never really saw Russell Wilson play at NC State. I remember seeing Russell Wilson play that one season at Wisconsin and thinking, man, this kid is good. I wonder what type of NFL career he's going to have. Then he gets drafted by the Seahawks. So I do think of Wisconsin, right? But I think that he would still say that he spent a lot of time at NC State. He has a degree from there. Anyway, kind of an interesting situation. I was not expecting that from Oklahoma fans.
Yeah.
Well, you should expect it.
You knew it was coming. All right, we're gonna get back to the chat in a second. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you donate as well, you can donate if you want, but go over to the Daily Wire Plus and become a member. All right, guys, y'all ready to look forward to today?
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right, let's go ahead and start Bills-Bengals. And look, I've watched this line. You feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game, right? The Bengals on defense, they're pretty good bend but don't break. I like Hendricks up front. DJ Reader's a guy that's really good patrolling inside those B and A gaps. But then I look at the Bills defense, and I just don't trust them. You know what I'm saying? I just don't trust him. At the end, without Von Miller, that's the one guy you had. Look, Milano is really really good story, way better than Alyssa Milano. That chick sucks.
Pro Bowler.
Then you look at White in the secondary, who's a hell of a player. But with all the weapons the Bengals have, with Joe Mixon, with T. Higgins, with Tyler Boyd, with Jamar Chase, hell, even with Hayden Hurst there, I just don't know a way in which Buffalo, unless the Bengals offensive line just plays awful, which is a possibility, I don't see how the Bengals and Bills don't score a lot of points today. And right now, guys, I'm leaning Bengals. I like Bengals in this game a lot. Joey B, dead eyes. There's nothing inside but pain and anger that he's waiting to take out on somebody. I know it's in Buffalo. I am more worried about the Buffalo defense. I think that is the weakest side of the ball in this game. I don't think it's the Bills offense. I don't think it's the Bengals offense. I don't think it's the Bengals defense. I think the Bills defense is the biggest liability in this game. And if Joey B comes out hot, Joe Shiesty, Joey Slings, then you guys are in big trouble in Buffalo.
Well, I think Jonah Williams is officially ruled out of the game, and I can't remember which one of you guys made the point this week, but it was a great one. Whenever you're upset that the guy who's given up the most sacks on the team is not going to be able to play for you, you're in a tough state of mind on the offensive line, because the Bengals started 2-3. And we talked about Joe Burrow at some instances during those 5 games looked like a deer in headlights, not just because the offensive line was getting up a lot of sacks, but they weren't getting the ball out of his hands really fast. Then throughout that 8-game win streak, guys, they're on an 8-game win streak now, they started to get their playmakers the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and the run game was really taking off. Not just Joe Mixon, but I remember when Mixon was out, Samadre Perine had over 150 total yards that game. So they had everything cooking. Last week was the first time against the Ravens in that wild card matchup that I saw some of that action that I was seeing in those first couple games when Joe Burrow, they were getting to Joe Burrow a lot, giving up a lot of sacks. My question is, was that just because the Ravens do have an elite defense and it was a divisional divisional matchup within the playoffs? Or is that a problem that's going to plague the Bengals throughout this postseason, kind of like it did those first couple games?
Well, it has to. And obviously the Bills defense is in close caliber, especially up front to the Ravens and what they do with Calais Campbell and all those guys. But to me, this is about the quarterbacks, man. This is about the quarterbacks. If anything, the last thing I expect is Joey Shiesty to come out cold in a playoff game really matters. I'm more worried about Josh Allen right now because he's making mistakes and he's been doing it all year, right? When it matters, when it's in the red zone, he's making big turnover mistakes. And if you do that against this Bengals team, it's hard to play catch up against this Bengals team. It really is, just with the athletes that they have outside. So I'm really interested to see what the Bills are going to do on defense, right? Do you heat Joe Burrow up, right? Because you're not getting there with 4. You haven't got there with 4 basically the entire year. So do you bring that extra guy? Do you crowd the line of scrimmage? But I do think, I think it's plus 6.5 or minus 6.5 for the Bills. I like the Bengals in this game. I know it's a road game, but I think it'd be a good bet to put on a little road dog action.
Our buddy Bradley LeGros is out there in Buffalo. He says, we know no other way than to ride with the fear. Bills by 40, no sweat. Look, you can jump on as many tables as you want. I look at the weapons that the Bengals have. It's going to be tough. 33 degrees. All right. I don't know the wind. The wind is, to me, wind is always more affects anything more than anything. Rain, it would be second. Cold, it sucks. It does. But it's worse coaching in cold than it is in playing. Believe me, because of coaching, I'm over there in the sidelines freezing. At least you're out there running around and getting the blood flow going. I'm over there like Frosty the Snowman. But guys, a big matchup in this game that, I think maybe kind of a sneaky head-to-head. And I know Hayden Hurst has been beat up, but who can win the seam between Dawson Knox and Hayden Hurst? We know that Jamar's probably going to get his. We know that Stefan's probably going to get his. Josh will be effective in the run game. Joe will be able to extend plays. But which of these 2 tight ends, the redheaded monster or Fort Knox, is going to be able to own the middle on, like we saw with Travis Kelce, right? Who's going to be able to be more effective on 3rd and 5? Who's going to be able to get that 7 yards on 3rd and 6 or get you into 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 4 where you can really start to use that play action game? And right now, I do think Dawson Knox is a better tight end than Hayden Hurst is, but I do feel like Hayden Hurst has more around him that can open up the interior of that seam. And I guess really the answer is going to come from which team can run the ball better, because whichever team can run the ball better, it makes that tight end action, whether it's that slam and slide on the screen, whether it's a block down, reach back out or whether it's just a free release, it makes it harder to kind of dictate what that guy's going to do. So, Blaine, starting with you, I got Dawson Knox as one of my bets over 29.5 receiving yards. Would you take Dawson Knox or Hayden Hurst to have more catches and yards today?
Oh, I'd take Dawson Knox for sure. I'd take Dawson Knox. I think a lot of it depends with the Bengals. How many times are you going to move Jamar Chase? Right? You see Tyler Boyd mostly playing that inside slot and trips. But how much are you going to move Jamar Chase? Because I don't think Tre'Davious White from the Bills is going to follow Jamar. I don't. So I think Jamar's going to play. I'm pretty sure they have Elam, that kid from Florida, who's the other corner who's been playing extremely well. Yeah. So, I mean, where does Jamar – do you move Jamar a lot? And how much do you trust T. Higgins? Because T. Higgins one-on-one, especially on the outside, I'm taking that every day. Taking that every day. I'm taking it all day. That's what I'm doing. If I'm the Bills, this is what I get worried about with the Bills, because outside of Dawson Knox and their best receiver for some reason, Stephon Diggs, who do they really have that you feel comfortable with making plays? Right? Not a lot. I mean, you have a deep threat. That's about it. But between the hashes, I'm taking the Bengals all day. Especially you have an older guy like Tyler Boyd, who just sits in zones, and him and Joey Shiesty are always on cue with each other. So if anything, I'm taking Dawson Knox for that matchup. But other than that, I'm interested to see what the Bengals are going to do with Jamar Chase and how much they move him around.
And remember, when Jamar Chase went down and missed multiple games this season, who stepped up? It was T. Higgins. Kept stepping up game after game after game. I want to ask you guys this. 2 minutes to go in this game. One team's down by 4. They have the ball at their own 25. They need to lead a 75-yard drive in 2 minutes to win the football game. Who would you rather have with the football in their hands, Joe Burrow or Josh Allen?
Yeah, give me dead eyes. Give me dead eyes, Burrow.
It's Joe Burrow.
Again, it's hard to rattle something that feels nothing. I mean, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like when you look, and I'm not saying Joe Burrow's a serial killer, but whenever they interview these guys, they have no emotion. So he's like, yeah, she's in the woods. Joe Burrow's like, yeah, this is 80-yard touchdown drive to win the Super Bowl. It was good. What's the next question? But guys, too, I want to shift to the Niners and the Cowboys and then get to our bets. But Jack Hogan said he wants to call in tomorrow to celebrate the Giants win. Remember, guys, we do call-ins Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We start taking them at 7:15 Central. We air them live. It's you guys at 7:30. So call in and have some fun with us, man. It's a great time on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we've really, really enjoyed it. All right, guys, last game of the divisional round. Cowboys, Niners, Dak, Brock, Christian, Zeke, man, woman. All the questions we ask all the time. I like the Niners in this game because I will continue to say what I've said. And I want everybody just to look at me right now. I don't believe in Dak Prescott to play consistent. That's why. That's the reason. Played really great last game, which means he's probably going to fall apart this game. You're playing against the 49ers, who haven't been fantastic on defense the past couple weeks, and don't think for a second that DeMeco Ryans and them don't know that. There's going to be one of these games where the Niners come out and just freak out on defense. With Armstead, I know that the Cowboys have a good offensive line, but with Armstead and Bosa and Warner, the only chink in the armor that I've seen is Ward cannot get toasted in man-to-man to take San Francisco out of what they do. Because typically what San Francisco does is, all right, 3rd and long, we're going to run 2-man. We're not going to worry about bracketing or shading whoever Ward is on. We're going to take away that guy in the slot and play one-on-one ball on the outside. And when you can do that as a defensive coordinator, it's like walking around with a gun. I mean, you haven't just at any point in time, you can pull out the glizzy and get busy on somebody because you can take away that outside. So I love the run game of the Cowboys, the way it works for play action. CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz and Michael Gallup and Tony Pollard, all that stuff's nice. But the Niners, they're balanced. They're like Suni Lee from Auburn on the balance beam. They're just nice and smooth and balanced. Offense and defense and special teams and defense and offense and all that stuff.
I'm going to take the 49ers as well, but it has less to do with my doubt of Dak Prescott and more to do with Kyle Shanahan, his play calling ability for the 49ers, and then just all of the playmakers they have. As good as Dallas is and as complete of a football team as they are, the 49ers are more complete to me. They also have a really great defense. They also have as many playmakers or more on the offensive side. So the question to me comes down, third string rookie quarterback in the second round of the playoffs. Can he step up? Can he deliver? Will Kyle Shanahan continue to have the faith in him that he's had for the past 7 or 8 games and call the entire playbook, not a watered down version? And then for the 2 defensive lines, which we're going to, boys, Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa, we're going to see some of the best defensive linemen in the world going at each other today. How effective are they? Can they do what Jacksonville was able to do yesterday? Maybe get to one of these quarterbacks and not necessarily knock them out of the football game, but bang them up enough to change the trajectory and change the play calling for one of those teams.
I like that. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys in this game. And I think Dak plays okay. I don't think he plays phenomenal, but I think you're going to see Brock Purdy make a couple mistakes in this game. I do. I think he's going to start pressing this game. I think the Cowboys are going to go up first. And the reason why is this. First of all, both of these defenses are phenomenal. Obviously, the 49ers have a better roster, especially with Deebo Samuel back healthy. That's one guy who can absolutely kill you in a football game. Well, it's running, receiving. He's probably the best receiver when it comes to getting yak at the end of the yards after the catch. But I think the difference will be is CeeDee Lamb, right? Do they double CeeDee Lamb? Because Ward can't guard him. If you single cover CeeDee Lamb, he's going to tear you apart.
Well,
right?
Ward's not guarding the slot. I mean, they're going to put CD outside. I think they're going to keep Ward outside.
Okay, if Ward doesn't follow him, regardless. I don't care who plays defense, who guards CeeDee Lamb on the 49ers, that's fine. If you bracket them, then here comes Schultz, right? Here comes a play-action game. So I think the Cowboys win this game by a field goal. I think you're going to see why Brock Purdy got drafted last in the draft. I think he's going to make a couple of mistakes. I know the guy's been perfect. I know he turned from Mr. Irrelevant to Mr. Relevant. But at the end of it, it's a playoff football. It's a little bit different, all right? It is. And I know he came out against the Seahawks, didn't have a great first half, but finished with a good second half. But I just think the Cowboys win this game because of CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb will be the difference in this game.
I think if the 49ers can't run the ball, then I'm worried about Brock a little bit. But if Shanahan can't get up and out formation you and do what he does out of 11 personnel and 12 personnel and move Juchik and those other guys around Kittle in the block game, if they're struggling on the edge of the line of scrimmage, because remember, last game, the Niners kind of had the interior of the line of scrimmage taken away, but they were able to win on the edge. So when I look at the 49ers, that run game has been Brock Purdy's best friend. It will continue, to be his best friend. If they take that away, then I think, Blaine, you could see some mistakes down the field. But then again, I think, well, if the 49ers can't run the ball, they're just going to use modified runs with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and these guys with jet sweeps and quick passes. That's the thing. Shanahan has every option available. He has got a gadget for everything. Running backs, Elijah's back. You have Christian McCaffrey. Then all of a sudden, if the run game's not working, that's fine. We can put Deebo in the slot. We can put Christian McCaffrey in the slot. There's so many answers that the Niners have. It's almost like one of those hydras, right? Where if you cut off one of the heads, it grows back. Like that it feels like that way when you're trying to defend the Niners. But if they're not able to run the ball and find that kind of, primary way to set things up down the field, then I think the Cowboys could keep this game close and have a chance to win. But Travis Elrod asks, does Dak have to play great for the Cowboys to win? Yes. I think he has to. Not play good, not play okay. I think he has to play great. And he can't have not only the turnovers, but the catastrophic turnovers. And there's the weather should be fine today. I just can't wait to see this matchup. And I do want to get to bets, but do we have anything in the chat, Blaine, we want to get to before we get to bets?
Go ahead, Con.
I was just going to say, I could see a scenario where Dak doesn't have to play great for them to win. If there's a strip sack touchdown on Purdy, maybe a pick six, get a couple defensive scores, something like that. Now, he did play great against Tampa Bay, and they blew them out. I mean, I think you could see a situation where Dak plays pretty good, and they still win the football game, again, depending on what they're able to do against a rookie quarterback on the other side.
But I think it's a lot more about Kellen Moore than Dak Prescott.
Shovel face?
If Dak can play within the offense, and you got to remember the Bucs game, they weren't running the ball great. Hell, they're barely running the ball. And Dak had to make an adjustment and play phenomenal. So what does Kellen do with them? How successful are they running the ball? And can you get him outside the pocket? Because I always think Dak will be best when he's outside the pocket. From college, he's always been that guy. So it'll be interesting for sure. Let's go to Texas Ed. What's the over-under on McCarthy messing up the clock management? Give me the over every time.
Yeah, the over.
What's our thoughts on Kyle Shanahan, Coffee Guy 95? I believe in the Cowboys because Kyle Shanahan always chokes in the playoffs, and the karma for Colin Kaepernick is coming. He does choke in the playoffs. We'll never forget that.
Yeah, look, I don't think you can ever live that Falcons thing down, but I will say he wasn't the head coach. So that's it's more on Dan Quinn than anybody. Not saying that Shanahan, the offense was the reason that a big reason why they were able to come back because they weren't sitting on the ball, but the defense gave up all those big plays and big opportune times. So he wasn't the head man, but at the end of the day, you still have that L.
All right, Texas Ed, he says 49ers are more talented on almost every level. Shanahan can game plan to allow Purdy open up some plays, but it's not going to come down to Brock Purdy. We'll see.
I don't think the Niners want it to come down to Brock Purdy. I think that'd be a perfect play for the 49ers. You would love to take it out of your rookie quarterback's hands, kind of like last night. Let's just line up and run the ball down their throat. I watched the Eagles just run split zone for an hour and a half and watched it work. So the Niners would much rather be able to run the ball, play action, make it easy on Brock, play good defense, and get their ass out of there and get on to the semis.
All right, let's go to little Ravens question here. What do we think about Derek Carr going to the Ravens? Would that be an improvement over Lamar Jackson?
No. I mean,
not by itself.
At all.
Depends on what else you got.
Yeah, I mean, now Derek Carr needs a whole hell of a lot more help around him to do things than what Lamar needs. Like you thought you saw a system that lacked big plays. Put Derek Carr in Baltimore just with Devin Duvernay and Rashad Bateman and see what happens. Look, here's my thing. And you can already see the Ravens doing this. They want Lamar. When you see what John's saying, Lamar is involved in these negotiations. And if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm looking at them and saying, Greg Roman is out. All right. I don't play tight end. I don't play running back. That system was not built for me. Give me a system that plays to my strength, that we can push the ball down the field, that we can mix tempo, that we can use my legs a little bit similarly to what we're seeing with teams that are still in it and play to my strengths. It's like putting a Ferrari in a boxcar race. Like I shouldn't be racing against boxcars. I should be in NASCAR. Like I should be in NASCAR or racing in F1 or something like that. So you got to let him get out of the garage and go ahead and put the pedal down on the floor and scream America a couple times with Lamar Jackson. And now that the offensive coordinator is out, I think that was the most telling thing because Greg Roman is a legend in Baltimore. They love him in Baltimore. So I think a big part of what Lamar wanted was I need weapons and I need a better system. Basically, exactly what Zelensky's asking from Ukraine right now.
Let's go to Andy J. What's up, Andy? He says, who is more explosive in this game, Deebo Samuel or Tony Pollard?
God, this is why you love NFL playoff football to me, or big games in general. I mean, these are one of those sneaky matchups because if you look, they both are very, very similar in what they do except for one thing. Pollard primarily lines up in the backfield and gets motion to empty. Deebo primarily lines up as a receiver that'll sometimes line up at running back and motion into running back. They're kind of your gadget guys, right? Your Swiss Army knife guys. And they become the most important inside of the red zone. That's where guys like that really help. Why does it feel like Jerick McKinnon, I know he didn't score yesterday, scores a touchdown in every game the Chiefs play? Well, when they get in the red zone, he's a guy that can stretch a defense through the pass game, even from the backfield. You look at him as a running back, but he can run routes as a wide receiver. That's what Deebo gives you and Tony Pollard gives you. I don't think Tony Pollard gets enough credit for his route running ability on the outside. They'll spit Zeke out there sometimes as, a token guy that they've got to go cover to create space. But whoever puts these guys in the best position in the red zone to score touchdowns, that's the team I think that's going to have a built-in advantage. And I've got to go with the 49ers because Tony Pollard is a hell of a player. But Deebo Samuel is one of the best yards after catch or yards after contact guy in the league when you look at his size. I love Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Manny. We'll see. What's up, E-Man? He says, will Christian McCaffrey have at least one catching touchdown and one rushing touchdown today? Ken, what do you think?
I do have Christian McCaffrey as an anytime touchdown score today, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had two. I would just like to have, I would like my bet to be he has two touchdowns in any way, shape, or form. I get worried about the rushing touchdown with the front seven of the Cowboys, so that's how I'm going with my bets today. But I don't know, what are the odds? Do you guys know what the odds are for one rushing and one receiving?
For one rushing and one touchdown specifically? I don't know. When you look at the two, I know there's a two touchdown score prop, right?
Yeah, but I think that means he could score anyway, right?
Anyway, twice. Yeah, I don't know the specifics. We'll look that up. Let's see. Sean Loftus, the Ravens need weapons outside. I disagree that the offense isn't built for Lamar. It was built for Lamar's legs to run him, but not to spread it out and let his arm thrive. See, Sean, this is why I think we kind of muddy the waters here. See, the system to me, I'm not saying you get in shotgun or empty every play and let Lamar throw the ball. What I am saying is the system needs more motion. It needs more speed sweep. It needs more attacking on the edge. Let's take the weapons out of it. All right, let's take the weapons out of it. Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, doesn't need to be under center running play action passes 65% of the time. Lamar needs a chance to create. Like I'm not going to go and say, all right, amazing painter, here's a number 2 pencil. I'm going to give his ass a paintbrush. You need to be able to get guys that are spread out because that spreads out the defense. Whenever you see the Ravens, they're in a lot of reduced formations, right? Everything is tight. Everything is close to the line of scrimmage, which doesn't give Lamar a lot of bailout options. And I'm not even talking about the checkdowns. It would put so much more pressure on a defense if they were able to line up in 10 personnel in the gun a lot, use a lot of motions, and start being a little bit more open. I am not by any stretch of the imagination saying that Lamar needs to throw the ball 60 times a game. Zone read needs to be a factor from the shotgun. Power read needs to be a factor from a shotgun, which is built off the jet sweep motion. So there's a lot of things outside of how many times you throw the ball or how many times you run it when we're talking about a system and the system being open.
Well, that offense was for sure created for Lamar Jackson, and they did lead the NFL. I believe it was in 2019, but the last few years it just hadn't been working. Again, I think it's the quality of players. You know, if you get the best players in there, if you give Lamar Jackson what Joe Burrow has right now in Cincinnati on offense, I don't even know if we're having this conversation. I think they're dominating in every facet of the way an offense can.
Yeah, right, and look, great players make any system. We've watched multiple systems work with great players. It's just, to me, it's how can I maximize the potential of Lamar Jackson? That, to me, I think that's the argument. We'll blame one more, and then let's get to these bets.
Well, I couldn't find the rushing and the passing, but Christian McCaffrey to score 2+ touchdowns is plus 350, and that's not great odds. To be honest. The next one is going to be, I think Debo Samuel's probably plus 1,000 or something in that range. So plus 350. It's not a lot. All right, let's go to Andy J. What's up, Andy? What's your thoughts on the turnover chain making it to the NFL? If Dallas wins, can we cut the feed so we don't have to see McCarthy doing the Monstar dance in the locker room?
Look, as a guy that was a defensive coach for a long time, whatever works, whatever gets turnovers. I don't care. Light me on fire after the game for a couple minutes. I don't care. Just get us turnovers, please, God. Whatever it takes. Turnover chain, turnover crane, turnover Blaine. I don't know. Just whatever works. I just give me turnovers. Give me the ball. The one I like the best, and I'm trying to remember who had it, was the little mini basketball goal. And when you got a turnover, you would go like dunk the basketball. And then I got to thinking, man, what if somebody rolled their ankle? I watched Mason Smith for LSU tear his ACL, celebrating after his first tackle of the season against Florida State. Maybe the board, signing the board, stuff like that, I think is good. But look, it's fun. Football's meant to be fun. I like it. I don't have a problem with it. I really don't.
I miss the days when we got turnovers just because that's what you're supposed to do. No chain,
well, look, kids these days, Cone. Sounds like a get off my lawn.
Just get off your lawn, dude.
Oh,
get off your lawn. All right, let's get to bets. All right, here we go. We got 6. Remember, it's brought to you by DraftKings. Use that promo code.
I want to hear Blaine's first.
Let's go, Blaine.
I'm not done with mine yet.
You're not done with your, you weren't prepared?
No, I'm not done with mine yet. Y'all already have y'all's bets done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an adult.
See, look, I'm up 30 units, fellas, so y'all go ahead and do your bets. I'm not done with mine yet.
All right, here we go.
This guy.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Here's what I got. All right, give me Jamar Chase anytime touchdown. That's boosted on DraftKings up to plus 175. I like Jamar here. And then my second bet, give me the Bengals plus 8.5 and the over at 47.5. Now I know it's supposed to snow, 90% chance of snow, but I still think they're going to be able to move the ball. That's at plus 200. Then third bet, give me the Niners money line and the over for the game at 44.5. That's at plus 150. And then we're going to get some touchdown scores here. Give me Joe Mixon anytime touchdown. Dalton Knox over 29.5 receiving yards. That's at plus 250. Then on my second bet, give me George Kittle and Tony Pollard anytime touchdown. That's plus 525. And then I said I'd never do it again, but I looked at myself and lied. I'm taking a basketball parlay. Give me UConn. Please, guys. Please, you're playing Butler. Can we just give it to Sunogo and everybody shut up? All right, so UConn money line, Purdue money line. They got that thing, Zach Edey running around the middle. Siena money line. Bet on you guys twice. You guys came through twice. Do I know where Siena is? No. Do I know what Siena is? I think it's a color, but I could be wrong. Then give me Colorado money line at home against Washington State, channeling their inner prime in basketball. Then Houston -20 against Temple at home. Temple might not score 20 points. I think Houston may score 20, so I feel good about that one. And then I'm taking the Fighting David Cones. Michigan at home today. Come on, girls. Hunter Dickinson, the best Dickinson since Emily. Take that left hand and get weird.
Who are they playing?
Let me see. They're playing somebody. Let me look here again. They're playing Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, or as we call them where I'm from. Ew, gross. They're terrible at basketball.
All right, boys. Here's mine. Bengals money line +200. Diggs and Mixon both anytime touchdowns. That's +380. I think Diggs is going to get in the end zone. And then bet buds with you, Jake, on Joe Mixon there. +380. Bengals TTP over 20.5. That's -120. Then we move on to the second game. I want the 49ers money line plus under 56.5. That's +100. I want Parsons and Bosa to both have a sack. That's going off at +220 today. And then little same game anytime touchdown here with McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Tony Pollard, all to score +850.
Dangerous, man. All right.
I will give the Booster Club this because I see some people asking. All right, first touchdown score, you can go ahead and put it's already written in stone. All right, it's going to be T. Higgins. All right, and CeeDee Lamb. That's what it's going to be.
Who scores first?
Wait. How's it both of them? It's
different games.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Okay.
Gracious.
Okay.
Guys.
Sorry,
So
man. It's just a little bit confusing.
But hold on. But you're picking each of them as separate bets to score, or that's a parlay?
No,
that's one bet.
You can't parlay those. The odds are too good to parlay those. All right.
Okay. Well, that's what you made it sound like.
No. I'll never do that. If you knew my bets from yesterday, my first touchdown scores is going to be T. Higgins in the Bengals-Bills game, going off at +1400. All right. And Cowboys-49ers game is going to be CeeDee Lamb, which I think is going off at +1000. All right. And if you want to parlay those and live that life, more power to you. All right. More power to you. But if any those are separate, odds are too good. Throw a 50 burger on those and walk away with $700.
You love to see it. All right, guys. Any parting shots here? I know we had some college hoops yesterday. Missouri, Kobe Brown didn't play. They got destroyed by Alabama. But Kansas goes down at home to TCU. The more I watch TCU, the more I'm going to like these guys in the NCAA tournament. Old guards, Lampkin from Mordor down there in the bottom, just breathing really hard and making plays. Some interesting
Kansas
stuff.
Looked so bad.
They did.
So bad. Turning the ball over. Not
I mean,
Harris.
Go ahead.
My parting thoughts are Shannon Sharp's an absolute clown. That's my.
What was Shannon doing?
Well, you're an absolute clown.
Doing?
First of all, you're like 60 years old, Shannon. You can't be acting a fool in a sweater vest and a scarf, bro. Like at the end of the day, you can't.
Dude, Steven Adams will rip your head off.
Steven Adams will rip you limb from limb.
Yeah.
Just
like
a
10 brothers.
Why did that fight start?
Because Shannon Sharp doesn't shut up.
I mean, you're getting in a fight at an NBA game, at an NFL game on the sideline. I'd understand it a little bit. I'd get it a lot more than an NBA game. But like you and Skip are just out here acting ass. I mean, it just, golly, that show sucks. But anyway, great stuff, guys. Chat was fantastic. Make sure you subscribe. Check us out. Remember, we go weekdays every morning, 7:30 a.m. to 9 Eastern. We've got live call-ins Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we'll see what happens tonight. I can hear Millie, my French bulldog, calling my name. I appreciate it, guys. Parting shots, anything?
Jake, am I coming over to watch the games or not?
You have a car. I mean, I can't teleport you here. It worked yesterday. You hit both first touchdown scores.
I don't know how I done.
Reed's not going to be here. She's traveling today for work, so it's the sisterhood of the traveling pants situation.
I might have to take a trip, a little rocket trip.
A little trip. Coney, you got anything other than Jalen Hurts was Oklahoma quarterback?
He was. That's a fact. But he also played at Alabama. That's all I'm talking about. Cam Newton at Florida.
How's Darby doing, Dave?
That's a great analogy. He started 0 games at Florida. Obviously, he's an Auburn quarterback.
Well, look. If we want to do this, then Aaron Rodgers is a Butte Community College quarterback.
He did play there.
All right.
She's good, Blade. Thank you.
All right. Great stuff, guys. We'll catch you all in the morning. Enjoy your sports watching today. Make sure you hug your family tight. And like the chances of the Jaguars moving on in the playoffs, we're going. Gone.